fields that I remember experiencing since I've been in the densities. There's a lot of places I don't remember in this body. I can't hold all the memory in this body. But everything is more, well, first of all, it's bigger than it is here. Our bodies are larger. There's more space between our atoms. And everything is larger. The trees, the plants, the fruit. You have fruit like apples and lemons. You begin to get the Alice in Wonderland feeling. Did I shrink? No, you grew. So these are real places, and I'm trying to show you with these diagrams the reality of the energy connections that help the mental body, because the mental body likes linear things. It likes information strung out in ways where there's no big gaps. It doesn't have to make leaps of faith, where it can make sense of information, which means synthesize information in an orderly fashion. So I try to show you these things to help the mental body integrate the rest of what the spiritual consciousness knows and what the emotional body and the physical body need to know if they're going to be able to experience these places ever as real. Okay, let's see what I need next. How are we doing? Okay, it's time to... Okay, is it? Let me see, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I'll put this up for a second and I'll talk about it when we get back from break. Yeah, I did that pretty good. I think 7 minutes flat on the last one. All right, this one we'll talk about when we come back from break. This is drawn from a chart called The Books of Maps and Keys. It was a book that was transcribed from the CDD plates by Jeshua, the person who became known as Jesus, and it shows us the locations on our planet of the 24 primary stargates and activation sites. And our politics, when you look at our history, has everything to do with the locations of these stargates. So when we get back from the break, it's just a 10-minute, 15 minute? Okay. All right. We'll be 10 to 15 tops. That's okay. I just have to. Something's up. I don't know what. But we're... Hello. Hello in the hologram. That was very nice of you to throw me a surprise birthday party. I don't know who arranged that. It was embarrassing because I'm not used to a lot of people singing happy birthday to me. But I want to thank you for it. And for anybody that's oh gee, we just wasted a bunch of time on that. If there's anybody that feels a little bad that, we lost time, we didn't lose time. You'll still get everything you came for. Okay? I always make up for time because I've learned with this job that I have that there's a flexibility with time that's absolutely essential. And I just learned to work with it, through it, and around it. And it's not... when something happens within the time frame I have, just to make sure that everything is supposed to happen within that time frame does. So because we took a little kind of sojourn into the party atmosphere and relaxing social atmosphere, that doesn't mean you're going to lose out on any workshop content or anything. And I would like to thank you for caring enough to do the birthday thing. Okay. Now. Okay, there's one thing I want to address because somebody had asked me the question, and they said it would probably be a good idea if I announced it. For people that are planning to come to the beach tonight at 9:30, first of all, we're going to meet right off the main public access point at the Siesta Key Beach, and that's where can they get? If anybody doesn't know how to get there, where's the best way to get directions?
Basically, it's Swift to Stickney, Midnight Pass, and the car park's on the left.
Could you say that again?
It's down Swift, all the way, which joins Stickney. At the junction of Stickney, Swift and Stickney, you go to the right.
Okay.
You turn right, in other words. You follow Stickney as far as you can, and that comes to T-junction, where Midnight Pass Road. You turn right on Midnight Pass Road, and you follow Midnight Pass Road until Siesta Key Beach car park appears on the left. There's only one big car park down there, and it is well signposted.
Okay.
Right, we're down there.
Within the group who cares enough about roundtables to sit through a workshop and learn about them so they can handle the biofields in the way that's needed responsibly. As far as, now, if anybody does want to bring people outside of it to the beach, we are going to do the thing, there's a roundtable that we're going to do Monday night, a big one, but the earlier Monday, probably around 3:30-ish, after the heat dies down a little because it's really hot during the day out there, we're going to do kind of like a free-for-all. Anybody that wants to come down the beach, we're going to come down and we're going to do something called the dunk, spin, and bury. Okay? It's a DNA amplification technique. It's a Merkaba amplification technique. One is opening, and it's called the Grual point. G-R-U-A-L, Grual, is an ancient word from Tara, from density 2, that referred to the point of center control. It was the point in Earth's planetary shields that the other stargates could be controlled from. Stargates 1 and 3 could be controlled from the center point, which was 2. To override 2, you could go up to 5, which is the other one on the center pillar. So if we look at them here, these are the stargates, and how they're, like in the planetary Templar, they're located like this. And the ones in the middle pillar are electrical gates, and they control the other ones within that density. Okay? So D5 can control these two, D8 can control these two, D12 can control all the ones below it. But the Grual points are these. And the quest for the Holy Grail stuff, what that was all about, the Holy Grail, that was part of the Arthurian legends and part of all sorts of chaos that happened even before that, ever since Atlantis, was the quest for getting control over Earth's planetary shields fully, so they could get control of the Grual point and then progressively use it to infiltrate inner Earth so they could go after the universal stargates. All right, so we go to we were guided to Siesta Key because the Grail point was opening. It was beginning its opening cycle. And this is where the D12 frequency, it's called the hydroplasmic beam, enters at the beginning of a stellar activation cycle to begin the process of the D12 subharmonics running through the planetary grids to progressively open each of the dimensional levels of the stargates and trigger them into sequenced activation the way they're supposed to open. This The Grual activated on 5/5/2000, May 5th, 2000, and that began the process of D12 non-polarized frequency. There's one point on the planet that receives the D12 unified frequency, which means it receives a trion beam, okay, before it polarizes. And it's at the Grual point that the Grual then polarizes it into Myon and Dion fields. So that's the one place that holds the most amount of the D12 frequency in one place that you can get on Earth in density 1. Now, the waters, this location of this point in the planetary Templar, which is the planetary template, is about a quarter mile off the coast of Siesta Key. And its radius, its immediate radius, is a couple hundred miles. But the closest to epicenter you are, the stronger the frequency is. So the frequencies that are running through the grids and running through the water molecules, the water molecules are beginning to spin in the right direction there. This is a healing that will take place in the waters on the planet progressively as more D12 frequency comes through the grids. But right now, this is the one place on Earth where some of the water molecules are holding the proper Merkaba ratios, which will assist. They will talk to their units of consciousness. They will talk to the units of consciousness in your own body and help your water molecules to start doing the same thing, to facilitate. What you're trying to do is getting your spin ratios back so you can get your natural particle-antiparticle balance back, so you can start to integrate your physical, mental, emotional, and higher levels of your body the way they're meant to be. So what we do is we do a Merkaba exercise. We activate the Merkaba while we're in the water. It was really fun. They didn't tell us anything about this until 5/5/2000. A bunch of us just showed up. It wasn't even a workshop, but it became one, where just every couple hours there was more transmission I had to translate. Then we go back out to the beach and do other work. But it was really fun. We go out and we'd activate the Merkaba, a group of people in the water, right, in a circle. And then we'd do the spin, and there's a way to use the solar spirals to amplify and really amplify the amount of antiparticle frequency you're carrying in the fields. And then you do the same thing with the bottom half of the Merkaba, which is your magnetic part of your Merkaba, and it brings more of the Earth's frequencies, and it's all in the D12 subharmonic. And it's a very, very healing thing. It was given to us as a healing tool, but it also heals, activates DNA, helps to set your Merkaba properly, and helps to give you more momentum on your Merkaba, which means when you get it going in the right direction, it will hold longer if you do it in a place like this. All right? In fact, this, even if you go 1,000 miles away from it, you will still have, because you have the imprint, the energy imprint of that location coordinate now in your fields from being there, it will help to sustain and to literally affect. You will kind of be like a walking vortex going the right way, where you go into planetary grid areas that are still holding the wrong spin ratios, and your field will help to reset the right one. So we're going down is for, it's not a mandatory thing that you have to as part of the workshop or anything, but it's to help everybody to experience this. It's like an extra gift of energy that we can give ourselves if we want to. So we go in there, we do the Merkaba thing, charge the water in our body, literally through the water molecules of the water around us. Unfortunately, it's warm at this time of year, which is really nice, really warm. Then we come back out and we amplify it. Now, quartz crystal is great for amplifying energy because it can hold a D12 charge, the D12 subharmonic charge, and it will distribute it well. The body systems have actually a quartz type base in the templates. The templates are actually made of types of subatomic particles that resonate to crystal carbon, which is diamond, a form of diamond, and when you take it to density 2, it goes into silica and silicon and those kind of things. So the silicon consciousness, or the template that's in quartz crystal, is very, very in tune with the template of humans and some of the other animal forms. Just a key has amazing sand. It's like pure white sand, because it's 99% crushed quartz crystal. And they had to analyze, like at Harvard Laboratories or something, as one of their notes on the tourist bureau thing, world-class beach. There's other white beaches, but this one has an extremely high content of crushed quartz. That's partially because many thousands of years ago, during the Atlantean period, in fact in 9558 BC was the last time, there was a large implosion of a crystal that was there, one of the main generator crystals that at the time were used in Atlantis to run the Grual Point Templar systems. And because some of the negative groups of fallen angelics had come in and taken over, misused the energy systems, the crystal grid network blew up. So there are several scattered, very nice crystal beaches that appear in very strange places sometimes on the planet. This is one of them. There's a couple others, but they're not as pure as this one. These actually hold the memory of those times, and those times that we were a part of, the Atlantean period, so it will help us in all sorts of ways as far as bringing the memory and opening the windows of understanding between ourselves in those periods and in the periods before the problems came. So what we do is go in the water, do the thing in the water, come back out, and then we were burying each other. And we had it looked like, I think we had 10 bodies at a time or something, with just the head sticking out, laying down in the sand. It's really comfortable. It feels really nice. Just for a little bit of time, because what it will do is amplify the charge. That you just put in a D12 subharmonic charge into your water molecules. This will amplify it and exponentiate it and make it more in the body so it holds longer. It can also help you at that point if you have any types of things that you want to heal, to intend that condition. Now, we're going to work a little bit with a symbol code before we leave here tonight, before we go to the beach, the Vesica Pisces, how to begin to use this as an aid to manifesting in ways that are, first of all, good for you, and second of all, will work better than what's out there so far as teaching you how to manifest. We can use the Vesica Pisces thing that we'll learn today on Monday as far as doing the Duncan Berry cleanse thing, and it can help you to clear out specific things as well. If you hold the intention of a condition that you would like to meet its opposite and raise them both to a higher level, that means you're not attached to either the positive or negative. You're simply intending its ascension to its highest form, which would imply healing it, where the condition, whatever it is, would become more and more of a benign experience. That's how you get negatives out of your life. You love them. You embrace them, bring them in, combine them with their opposite, and surrender it to whatever divine right order is in regard to this condition. If you do this with the techniques that we're going to be doing on the beach, it will amplify all the work that you do, and it's an amplification that you can take home with you. For that, if you want to bring other people in, that is fine, because that's not something that's we're not trying to put anything in the planetary grids that'll harm the grids, all right? And anybody that wants to learn this stuff is welcome. In fact, we often end up with locals kind of walking by going, "What are you doing?" It's a new healing modality. Oh, okay. Amplifies the electrical systems of the body. Oh, we leave it at that.
Just want to say what time it is again, if that's okay to be open.
Okay, that's at 3 o'clock on Monday. Yeah, Monday at 3 o'clock. Yeah, but tonight and tomorrow night, when we're going to go into like the round table probably. What time are we going to do that? That's going to be after dark. I don't want to do it. No, there's one on Monday, the Monday night one. 9:30 on Monday also. Okay, so 9:30 on Monday night, there's going to be another closed one that'll be another major round table. Now, there's going to be certain types of Kundalini activations offered. I'm getting this now on the one for Monday night as well. So again, with the round tables, they're kind of we're not an elitist group, but it does require an orientation to know what you're doing to participate. So again, please don't bring anybody that wasn't a part. Or if you're bringing somebody, if there's somebody who's with you, they can watch, but they can't participate and do the stuff because it'll mess up the energy work that the group is trying to set. So there's the one day you can bring anybody you like, and the other 2 days would appreciate it if we just keep it with the people who know what we're doing. It also helps to avoid heckling and things like that when people see a bunch of grown-ups spinning. Kids love it because they kind of go, look at the grown-ups. They're spinning around in circles like tops. In the ancient days, there was a dignity about this stuff. Yeah, and then there's the sound tones. Yeah, then there's the sound tones. Yeah, the sound tones begin the activation of the frequencies in the DNA. So we do the sound tone rounds, and then we move that into motion, where we set the spin ratios and things. So it's really a wonderful sight to behold when we do round tables. In the whole legend of the Arthurian Grail quest, it was a real period in time where there were a group of us incarnate around 600 time period, 600 AD. It was coming to its close, and we were doing the same things then. The Knights of the Round Table were the security team that had the knowledge, and at that point you got killed trying to get the knowledge, and you had to remember it. You couldn't have it written down because it left too much. You couldn't have like these charts and things. These are ancient charts that show the locations of places on the planet where the gates are and where you do the work. We were doing them in the Arthur period. We were doing them in the Christ period. This was the real core of the Christ mission. It was resetting the Christos template into Earth's grids in hopes of getting that done in preparation for the 2000 to 2017 star activation cycle. Both of those missions failed, and it did not get finished because there was attack both times. Now, we're doing the same thing, so it may seem a little silly because we're conditioned to not picture grown-up spinning. I wonder where that propaganda came from. We're also conditioned to be very restrained with our bodies and not let them move enough, which means we're blocking energy, its natural flow in the bodies. When we begin to work with Merkaba and with round tables and even with salutations, which are the ones we do by ourselves, where you don't need a group to do them with you, we start to let the body breathe energy again. Because really what we're doing, when we accelerate the spin of our Merkaba, we are accelerating how fast the flash line sequences run through our body, the flash line sequences of scalar waves turning on and off. And every time the scalar waves turn on and off and do a phase, they're bringing more sustaining energy into the body, and they're helping the body to raise frequency. Once upon a time, we were all breatharians, which means we didn't eat or didn't have to consume things outside of ourselves. We simply did solar and lunar salutations every day, which was doing the dances and singing the sacred songs once in the morning and once in the evening to pick up the solar frequencies and the lunar frequencies. And we would energize our fields, and it would keep us going for a full 24 hours. Didn't have to eat. Our organ systems were a little different then too, because if you don't have to eat, your whole inside just starts kind of like wired differently. Because of the mutations we've suffered, we've had to go into being an eating species, which in truth is energy vampiring. We should be self-sustainable. Ideally, anything with a D12 template can simply continually sustain its hologram. Holograms are thought forms. They're not supposed to have to eat other thought forms. They should be able to just move their thought forms into whatever form they want. And that was the original intention of the human design. But we've had a long experience in our race evolution of finding out what it means to be a thought form trapped in its thought form. And that's what we're coming out of now. The technologies we're using now are slowly going to get us back, our race evolution. We are setting the seeds for a new evolution of this race back to its original divine potential that it once was expressing. Eventually, we will go back to being in the state of breatharian, where we don't have to eat anymore. We will go into a state where our bodies, if we want to have a body in a density, it does what our thought patterns want it to. It looks the way we want it to. We don't have the battle of the bulge and the battle of the sag that hits people by the time they hit their 40s. You know what I mean? In fact, most grown bodies in density 1 and density 2, when they're functioning properly, they hold an age pattern, which is a set of frequency ranges that projects out into the hologram as a body that has a certain level of molecular integrity between the ages of 16 and 33. So it's like being perpetually somewhere in that age range and not going backward or forward. So it's like, oh, what age do I want to go back to? This is eventually what we will have the opportunity to do. But right now, we have a dense matter body that has been highly abused with frequency for a very long time. It needs help and support. And you can't just abandon it and say, well, I'll drop the body and go get another one. You can do that, and you'll incarnate again. But you're leaving a part of your body in the earth when you do that, and you'll have to come back here to get it, to transmute it. If you're going to get all the way out into ascension, you will have to come back. So the idea is to transmute, to get all the portions of your consciousness that are down here, the parts that are your molecules and the D1 frequency levels, the part that's your emotional body and your elemental body, and the waters in your body, they're your consciousness. These parts of you need to come with you. These technologies are bringing you to a point where you're at least bringing into the mental body awareness what actions you can take, both inside the mind, because it's an action. Every time you think a thought and draw a picture in your mind of a symbol and put a certain color to it, you have created a thought form, and you are speaking the language of primal creation when you use light and color and form. So when we use symbols to direct energy, and then when we put it in action out here, if you want to look at it this way, the hologram that's out here is actually the past of the thought vibration we just moved out of. The past is right here. When we look out, we are looking at the past. The part of us that's looking, the stream of consciousness right now, is the present. When we close our eyes and see light, if we imagine light, we are seeing the frequencies of the dimensions above us. Like in a near-death experience, people will see the dark, they'll go through the tunnel, they're going through the 45-degree shift in angular rotation of particle spin. That is called the null zone, or one of the smaller voids that exists between every set of three-dimensional bands. There's a void between D3 and D4 that you need to shift 45 degrees in angular rotation of particle spin so you can pop up in density 2. When we use the Vesica Pisces symbol that I've been talking about, that explains it actually beautifully in a very simple symbol. The Vesica Pisces are the two circles. I don't have this one drawn yet because this information was just given. But if you imagine two circles hooked together, and the center point in one is where the other one starts. So their center points are actually touching, and they're overlapped. I wish I had a thing to draw on here. I think, let's see if this will work on here. Anybody have a marker? Because I think that would work on here. Okay. Yeah, what I need though is a marker that I can write on the Mylar with. Do you have a marker? Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. Oh, goody. Now I can draw it right on the thing here. Okay. Now the symbol I'm talking about, I think this is the only one that has any space on it anyway to draw on. Okay. And I can't draw these perfectly without it, using a template. My hand isn't quite steady enough. But basically, what it creates is where the center points, the outer rim of one touches the center point of the other. Okay, I'll show you in a minute. It's a little hairy looking, though, the bottom one, isn't it? They're supposed to be just circles. Okay. See that? That little symbol there? There's not much room to write on here. That is the Vesica Pisces, except it's not a flat circle. It's supposed to be a nice looking round circle. But the way the circles are done are the outside of one touches the center point of the other, and vice versa. So they form an interlocking electromagnetic field. And what you have is this is actually the future time zone, which is the light field, which is the Dion field. This is the past, which is, this is the electrical, which is the magnetic field. This is the Mayan field. And here in the center, see the center point? That's where you have a still point. That's the trion zone, where trions are formed. So you have the part of K, the part of Chi, the original, and the part of Cum, reality fields. Our hologram, our form constant, which is the bent field of frequency that allows light to refract, consciousness to refract in certain ways, that allows for the creation of the projection of the hologram, takes place in these two spaces, at these relationships, where part of K, part of Chi, and part of Cum relate to each other in those relationships. So there's a way to use this. This is a mathematical code. It's not just an explanation of how light is born. Because what this is actually, you have original source light, let's say source is an energy field. Then you have the void zone, put it together and it creates your primal light field. This is a pattern, a mathematical code that's been used ever since from the first individuation of source that forms the ecstatic level, the void in the ecstatic level, way up in the primal sound fields. This pattern manifests all the way down. So it's a core mathematical template code that can be used to embed directly into your manifestation template a thought form that you want to put there. A thought form in its wholeness if you use the right codes, because this is the carrier of a code. This is the embedding code that you can use to put information directly into your template. You can use this in a way that you can put it into all of the subharmonics of your template at the same time. And when you use it with the activation code that goes with dimension 12, you will be able to set that thought or that intention, embed it literally in all 12 strands in your template. If you're an indigo child, which most of you are, because most people that listen to me happen to be indigo children, they have 24 to 48 strands in their template, not just 12. Okay? You can put it in all 48 of them if you've got 48 of them. Now, if you want to run into your thoughts somewhere as fast as possible, the more places you can put that pattern, the faster you're going to see it until you figure out how to get your vibrational coordinates just right by feel. This is a way to get it, literally, where you will manifest it on this level. You'll manifest it on the soul level in density 2. You'll manifest it on the oversoul level in density 3 because you're manifesting it from the avatar pre-matter template level of density 4. All right, so the beginning of using the techniques, the new techniques that are going to be given, is going to be understanding how the Vesica Pisces also gives us our control code for implanting things in past, present, and future. Once we get the thing put, all right, so we have a symbol that we've made that corresponds to an idea. You take the symbol, let's say it's a heart. I'm just saying that for the heck of it, right? We have a heart symbol. Let's say we have a heart and an anti-heart. Okay? You bring these two together. You see how we have one? It's put in the future, right? One's put in the past, and they're being sent in from the hologram point, which is now. Then you'll use the mind to bring the two together, where this circle becomes, the two circles become one, because this one moves down in frequency, and this one moves up in frequency. Now, what this does is it takes it out, it demanifests the original pattern that is the lack of what it is you're trying to create. If you have something you want to create, that implies you don't have it yet, which means you're seeing the lower frequency pattern of it. It implies that it already exists somewhere. You take your pattern, you put both of them in, you bring it together into this center point, and that will bring your past, present, and future, because your present is here, it'll bring them all together in the center point. Now, it's a way of mathematically embedding into your template on all levels simultaneously the thoughts that you're trying to create in your hologram. It's a very powerful tool for that reason, because it also can be abused, because you don't have to use it with D12 frequency. To use it with D12 frequency, the symbol that you would use would be the D12 activation code, which is a 6-pointed Star of David with a point in the center and a circle around it. So there would be a process of visualization that you would use with this, but even easier than visualization, because that's hard for some people at first. You can draw the symbols on a piece of paper. You have chakras in the bottom of your feet. You have most that will create, there's a left-right relationship that's really complicated and it's not worth getting into. I don't think I could explain it coherently to the level that I like to when I address something. But you can pick which side you draw your original image. It doesn't have to be the hearts. This is going to be a symbol that you're going to decide to put in until you can figure out what it is. If you just want, I want my heroic self. That means everything I was ever intended to be, to create myself in my greatest wholeness, my Christos self, my Ascended Master self. I just want to be at one with my source self here while I'm in manifestation, which will be the fastest way to get all sorts of rapid but sequenced, which means they'll be smooth compared to non-sequenced DNA activations, Kundalini activations, where your particles and your antiparticles and your antiparticles all combine to progressively get your body ready to make the shift that will allow you to project out the hologram of walking through a portal into inner earth or going to visit Terra. So if you use this symbol, which is a 6-pointed star of David, that was this one again, whoops, this is like just this, one triangle, the other triangle, dot in the center, and the dots are important. If you see a dot in the center or something that is a mathematical code, you remove it, you change what it means mathematically. That is the D12 Maharic shield symbol code. So you would put that here, and you would put it here. Okay? So you have two. You're putting it in the past, and you're putting it in the future. And then you would bring these two, you would imagine these two things in your mind if you're going to do it that way, or you would have them on the paper, and then you would have next to them the result of these two come together. One goes down, the other goes up. You don't have to draw the arrows. It knows what to do with itself once you load it with symbols. It will turn into this image where the dot in the center will be the transmuted code that you put in, which will raise it to its next increment and its next level. So you could just draw these two codes, this one without the words around it, and this one in it, and then this one next to it. This is the embedding code. This is how you embed things directly into your DNA template. You can use it to embed other things too, but I always suggest when you're going to use codes that have the potential to literally alter the scalar wave patterns that are in your core template, which means they can alter your body, they can alter your hologram. You put the wrong codes in, somebody gets, you could turn yourself into an ape or something. This is why these codes have been protected. And that you might see the symbols, they've been around for ages, but the explanations of what they do have been diverted this way. Oh, it's this, and this, and this, and it's sacred, but we won't tell you what you can do with it because they're very powerful. So if you're going to use this for intention and for setting like specific ideas that you'd like to manifest, do them. Hold the intention of the thing you'd like to manifest. While you use this code, use the D12. This is considered the Christos code, because that holds your divine blueprint the way it's supposed to be, so you don't accidentally create a bunch of stuff that is going to work against what your soul and avatar level of consciousness had in mind when you decided to come here. And it also won't create chaotic activation of frequency, bless you, in your fields. If you use the Vesica without the D12 code, you're taking the level of protection off of it, which means you can get all sorts of weird energy running through your system that your body's not ready to process. And because you're telling it to run by running that code, it won't shut off. However, if you use this symbol with it, your D12 template will not allow more frequency to enter your body than is comfortable for your body at the time. You might get little aches and pains here when you do general, like soul level motivated DNA activations, but you will not hurt yourself. You will not accidentally blow yourself up, things like that. When you start using the Vesica code, if you use it with the security symbol. The security symbol is the D12. This is the symbol that corresponds to the mathematical coding that is the 144 sub-frequency bands, the 144 fire letter codes of the D12 frequency spectrum. All right? Yes?
I've been...
We're behind each other.
I just wanted you to think, can you explain what it means with that right there? We didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see. Okay. Okay. Let's see if I over here this time. Hello. All right. Basically what you'll do is you'll draw on a piece of paper the symbol here, the circle, and the other circle. It's important that you do the circles, you do draw them accurately, even if you have to use like one of those little circle templates or something, where the center point, and the easiest way to do it is like draw one and find its center, and then use that as where you're going to form the outside of the other one. And make sure that the inside, like the outsides, touch the insides. That's what it's about. That's what creates the mathematical interaction of frequency when you use the vesica. So you do your two circles, and mine are not perfect here because I just did them freehand. Then you will put in this code here. This is the D12 frequency code that contains within it the mathematical coding for the 144 fire letter sequences that make up the D12 frequency band, which is the frequency that carries within it all of the frequencies below, the frequency of the pre-matter template. When you embed something into pre-matter, you are literally setting its intention just as you did as source, just as you did when you were a Rishi consciousness in the primal light fields. You are engaging your entire higher self in the process. You are co-creating with the levels of yourself that didn't enter this level of density. So you're not working against what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do one thing on density 2, but your density 1 self doesn't know about it, and your density 1 self is running amok down here with manifestation codes, creating all sorts of stuff that's trying to mess up with the greater pattern that all of you came in to do. If you have a self on each level, you need to work with yourself in co-creation, which means you have to care what your soul level thinks. You have to care what your body level thinks and feels. Because you came in as a unified being and then got dimensionalized. And if you want to get back out, you have to reunify, which means cooperation. Okay? So when you're working with this symbol, you then put this symbol in. It's the 6-pointed Star of David, they call it, with a point in the center and a circle around it. And you can do this big. You know, you can make it big enough where you can actually stand on it with both feet. And you can even do it where you have one under each foot, but on the same piece of paper. That piece of paper is a scalar field, and if you break it apart, that implies negative space in between, which changes the relationship. All right, so on one piece of paper below your feet, it will come through the chakras and the balls of your feet. That will be the entry point, and it goes up the energy lines that run through the legs from there, and there's a main vertical current that runs up your body. It'll go through your whole body. It'll go up into the higher chakras that are here. And you have, I haven't gotten into body parts in this one, but they're in the Cathara manual, and they're also in the Templar manual to show you where your chakras are. You go all the way up to chakra 14, 36 inches above the head. Then it'll come back down to where chakra 12 is, below your feet and below the point where you put the code in. And then it will continue down into Earth's core where chakra 13 is. It will make a full link of the circuits of all your creation currents. So you are using all of your currents together. You are literally creating from all of these dimensional levels. You have an embodied Cathara grid, points in the body. This is this is the first thing we teach in Cathara healing, is where these are and how to begin working with them. When you do this, you take this code, put that one in it here and here, and then draw the finished version of it, which is simply this, the circle with the dot, which is the two came together. All three reality spaces are now in one space, and the code has turned into a simple dot in the center. That holds your intention. You've literally put that code in every one of those Cathara centers, those inner stargates. Then there are going to be ways that we're going to amplify that even further. When we go to the beach tonight, we're going to do what's called a salutation, where once we've played with this code a little bit, you get to play with the code when you go on your dinner break. Just play with the code. And I'll show you how to play with the code. If you want, you use the breath. Use a piece of paper with the drawing on it below your feet. It's called direct induction, where you're inducing the energy pattern directly into one of the vortices in the body hologram. The vortices are connected to what are called crystal seals, seed crystal seals in the body. The seed crystal seals are connected directly to the template and to the DNA strands for each dimension. By putting it in the chakra, you're moving it into the crystal seal, which will move it into the template of the DNA and of the corresponding chakra and of the corresponding auric field level. if you want to program things, your chakra system is a definite tool that was given to you so you could think things through different chakras to make them manifest on different levels. This is the beginning, because this can also be used. If you notice, there are symbols here on this diagram. They're basic symbols that we've often seen many times. They are symbols that correspond to primary 5-letter sequences in each dimensional band. So everything that's made out of dimensions, you will be able to use these as directional codes if you want to put something in D4 frequency band. Now, if you embed something in your 4th DNA strand, all right, you're going to need to get to 5th dimensional consciousness before it will be in your hologram out here. All right. This is where you start to learn with the symbols, the mathematical codes drawn in light, which is future time, but inside of your head here, which is present time, and then used to run energy in the past, which is taking action to anchor it in the physical world. As you do this, you learn to literally put your manifestation where you want it. Right now, we're going for cross-the-board manifestation of the heroic self, which is the future self and the past self of you that was your entire divine blueprint, where you are completely in a state of vibrational harmonization, which is a complete and utter state of love. The feeling that we call love, and all of the feelings of expansion and joy, and beyond those feelings. There's a level where joy is joy, but then there's, and even ecstasy isn't close enough. It's unity. It's a return to the oneness. These are feelings that we're going to be able to wake up in our body. We all have this part of our template. If we use these symbols, we're anchoring first the heroic self. Then as the heroic self, we can start to look at our hologram and say, is there anything here that needs healing? Don't think what I want to change. Think, what do I want to heal and integrate and raise to its highest expression? Which means you're willing to bring its negative right to you and put them together in the same space. But now you have a tool of direct manifestation where you don't have to walk the collision point. The collision point is when the negative and the positive do begin to run into each other, and you get all sorts of weird, unstable frequency as your hologram is trying to integrate. When you work with the energy directly, you integrate it before, through the D12 pattern. You harmonize it and put it back into a state of love before it gets projected into the hologram. So this is the easiest way to clear your karmic imprint, which is a bunch of twisted energy patterns that exist in the Kathara grid in your body that manifest from the Kathara grid into the DNA template, into chemical form, into your hologram. When you work with this, there's a lot you can do, and you'll get guidance from your own self on, okay, I can do that. What else can I do with it? There's lots you can do with this. This code is going to be one they're going to show us how to use tomorrow for some major planetary grid work we're being asked to assist with. This has to do with the security information that they haven't even told me what it is about yet. And we'll get into that during tomorrow's lecture. Yeah.
On Sunday, the moon is actually going on the sign of Pisces, and I wasn't sure if there was a reason why we're doing it around Monday or not on Monday.
There is a reason why Saturday and Monday were chosen, but they haven't told me why yet. Yeah, I would love to explain it to you. I'd love to explain it to myself. And it's really funny because I know somewhere I know, but I also know I'm not allowed to bring that information here yet because it's a frequency, and I'm not supposed to bring that frequency in yet. And I don't know why, but I'll find out once the gate opens and I can bring it through, but we'll know by tomorrow. Yes?
I've been seeing a triangle with a dot. Do you know what that is?
Well, the triangle is the D1
The dot is
access code. The dot can be several different things, actually. The dot means it's loaded, first of all. That's one level of it. It means there is a program that's put in there that if you pulled that dot forward to you and opened it up, you could read it and find out. I would suggest to do that, because the ones that hold dots in them, like the D4 one has a natural one, that's a loading code. That means there's a whole bunch of smaller symbol codes that are wrapped up tight in the center of it. And before you can tell if there's something that's working for you or against you, you're going to need to be able to feel their energy pattern. Okay, so I would say, kind of put your Maharic seal up, scan the dot in the center and say, okay, reveal what's in there, kind of thing. Okay. Whoa, you got hands all over. Okay, I'll get right to you. Yes.
Is the heroic self and crystals the same thing?
The heroic self and crystals? Christos, yes. Yes, the heroic self. Well, the heroic self is the Christos, but it's beyond the Christos as well. It's the Christos that encompasses your Christ consciousness level, your Buddhaic consciousness level, and your Nirvanic consciousness level, but then goes beyond into the Rishaic consciousness levels, and then out of the time matrix into the primal sound fields, where you have in the primal light fields the Rishi, the now Rishi consciousness level. Then in the first level, the primal sound fields coming out, you have the entity level, where you become an entity, which is a collective, where you know yourself as many. You know yourself as a family of consciousness scattered around space-time, and you start to get open memory and the ability to communicate and be in the heads of all of yourselves all at once. This is what it means to integrate. And then you have yourself as a Rishi on the next level, and then you have yourself as an Ekar on the final level of expansion before you go completely out of manifestation and back into source. So that's when we're doing the Christos and the heroic self. The Christos is an essential step of getting to anything higher, but it is part of the heroic self. It's the beginning part when you're down here to get up there. But it's actually incorporating the whole self to become what's called the God self. And it has to do with activating portions in the body that carry the primal sound field currents that they're called the God seed and the God spark. There's portions of the body template that hold these frequencies dormant as potential. It's the beginning process of awakening those. So that's what we're involved with when we're bringing our heroic self and manifesting, embodying our heroic future. It's bringing it into our body so it can move through our body template out into our hologram so we have a chance of walking it and experiencing the joy of it. Okay, let's get one here. You had it up first. How do you spell Vesica? V-E-S-I-C-A? Yeah. Do you know the word origins on that? Okay. I don't either. That's been called that for ages.
Part of the symbol looks like a fish. When it goes up, it's like something in the fish.
Okay.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Use of the Christ symbol that's ever.
Okay, yeah, actually they're separated. They make the fish in here. But that's separated from the rest of its whole. I wouldn't trust that symbol at all. That's an Anunnaki symbol that's very, very popular. When they infiltrated the Christian doctrines, they used that all the time. They did the same thing with the dove. Those two symbols were actually portions of larger energy interactions that were supposed to take place that were like subliminal programming devices. Like symbols, logos they could use, the transmitted frequency, kind of like crop circles do. Crop circles that we get, they're popping up in the fields in England and several other places, they're symbol codes that are programming planetary grids. All right, images that have come up from ancient history, like the Vesica Pisces image has been there for a long time. We have the flower of life images, we have crosses of all sorts. These are all mathematical programs that when we perceive them here, especially when we forget, there's a hologram issue happening. We look at a symbol or we read a sentence in a book. We've just adopted and brought into ourselves a frequency pattern. All right, a scalar pattern, a mathematical command. So when we're using parts of symbols that are supposed to be whole symbols in their divine right order, we can damage ourselves without knowing. Some of the most pretty sounding words and prayers that came up from the ancient times through the doctrines actually contained commands that were meant to ensure we would be subservient to an external source and make sure we did not integrate the various levels of body. So we begin to understand symbols. We also need to understand that everything out here is a symbol. There's very little difference between the symbol we just drew here. We just made an energy form by making that line. This is an energy form, this paper or this mylar. This is a symbol. All of these things out here in our hologram are thought forms. They're not three-dimensional in their organic state. They appear three-dimensional because they have three flash line sequences of standing wave units moving through them. It gets really interesting to start decoding your hologram. Talk about decoding your dreams like we talked about earlier. and just like throw out the books and start over, you'll figure out more than what the books that are out there now can tell you. This is your waking dream. Okay. This is the waking dream, the hologram that we are in. There's no difference between the thought field that you saw in the dream state and the thought field that you are seeing here, other than the fact that the thought field in the dream state is being thought from a higher level that you're not seeing as solid yet because your consciousness isn't a full dimension above it. But here, your thought field looks like it's outside because you're perceiving one dimension above where that frequency of this pattern exists. It can be really neat when you go home and sit in your house and realize each room that you're in, each object in that room, the stuff you love, the stuff you can't stand, the stuff you didn't even realize was there, like the dust bunnies under the carpet and things like that. Every one of these things is a thought form that has a template. And the things that you feel a resonance with especially are telling you something about you. The projection of who you are doesn't stop with your body. Part of who you are is your house. Part of who you are is the community that you're in. Whether you get along with it or not doesn't matter. But you have the hologram level that goes with your Maharic shield level that encodes part of your DNA that has this is my personal space stuff that creates body separate from your body. And then part of your body is the environment immediately surrounding you. Be it your house, your room. You can look at this space. If you live under a tree, someplace in a cardboard box, this is a hologram. This is a symbol that some part of you has chosen to use for your representation of house. And if it's because you held an intention of lack, it means somewhere you have the opposite of that and you can bring them together and heal it and raise the whole thing to a higher level. It's really exciting when you start to realize you don't stop here. We have been taught for ages that we're just here. We're these little people that are just like stuck in a hologram body and we can't do much about it. And we're taught to look at everything as away from us, which means it has the power possibly to influence us, and maybe we don't have the power to do anything about it. When you get to the point of fully realizing how much of the hologram is you, you start to realize that all of the hologram is you. You start to realize that all the other people in the hologram are symbol people projections. That doesn't mean they're not real and not valid, and doesn't mean you don't have to be nice to them. They're people too. It means you're a symbol people. It means we're all symbols for consciousness, the one consciousness that is God. When you know yourself as God, while you're in the hologram, you're in the hologram, looking at yourself and knowing that you're looking at yourself. And there's the most wonderful feeling that you get with it. A feeling that, oh my God, this is my thought form. Every person in this room represents a symbol to me that's showing me something about myself, that's holding a part of what I am and my awareness that I'm not fully conscious of in here at this time. This is what we do for each other. Right now I'm playing the symbol person role as teacher for the people who want to listen to me in that capacity. There are all sorts of symbol roles we play. And if we can start to realize that the game is supposed to be fun. It was created to be a joyful experience that had both the experience of pain and sorrow and joy and happiness, but balanced in a way that neither were too extreme, so you could have a nice experience of playing in the densities and finding out what it meant to experience yourself as an aspect of source that chose individuation in order to look at itself more fully. This beginning of our power, using this symbol, is the beginning of returning the understanding of that power that's held in our pre-matter template. Our D12 level of self has never been out of touch with that reality. When we work with the Vesica, it will start to bring that information more fully and more clearly to us in our own time, in our own way. Your own self will regulate how fast. Oh boy, you got hands coming all over the place. Okay, I remember, you must be getting tired because you've been holding your hand up for a while. Okay.
So, what would happen if we used a person as the symbol instead of the infinite symbol? Merged up and ran the action.
It would depend on the intention you were attaching to the person. All right. If it
as a reflection that perhaps I don't like. I'm aware.
Oh, okay. For healing in that way, Yes, with a healing intention, if you put, an image of a person in there, but still use the symbol. This one, make sure you use the D12 symbol with the Vestica symbol. Okay? And then you'd put it kind of the intention, like if you're going to put an image of a person or of a thing you'd like to experience or see in your hologram, you would put it in the center point of the Star of David in that second symbol here. Okay? And then you simply write it on the paper, put it below your feet, and use the breath where you inhale frequency up from Earth's core, just up to your heart chakra, and then just exhale, and it'll go from the heart chakra, it will go on its own all the way up to chakra 14. Then it'll circulate back down, and then on your next inhale, catch it here and go, and send it down. When you send that down breath, you've got D12 charge frequency coming up, circulated down through, and you're pushing it back down with the image, with the imprint of the symbol code on the paper. You can also do it with your mind, just by running it through, but if it's easier for you to just draw it on a piece of paper and do it in tangible form, do it that way. Do it the easiest way possible, because creation should be easy. It should not be hard and difficult. Okay, yes?
Color associated with the symbol, should we associate color?
There will be. All right, I didn't make a distinction on it yet, because the color that pops up as the one that's right for you at the time is a communication that's taking place between you and your avatar level of self, where the color you will get as the image you want, the color you want to make those symbols, you might get them all the same color, you might get each part of them a different color. As long as you don't change the line content, other than putting in, if you're going to make any changes, it goes in the center point of the center of the Star of David one. That way it won't mess up the mathematical program. But the color that you get a feeling you want to use for that is telling you something about the frequencies that your avatar level wants you to start that transmission on. It'll start with the subharmonics. If you get blue, it'll be the D5. It's going to aim for the D5 strand first. It's going to aim for the fifth subharmonic, or the fifth subfrequency band in each of the dimensional levels of consciousness first. It was a decision made from your D12 level that was the easiest way to begin the process of plugging the manifestation in, or embedding the manifestation into the DNA template. Okay, let me see. Oh boy. I just want to say one thing. If I keep doing questions right now, we're not going to have time to get to the point where I wanted to get to. And the point I wanted to get to is where we do the tribal shield activation here before it's time to go to the beach tonight, because it's something that we should do before, and then we should do it a while before we go to do a round table. I'll explain the round tables to you on the beach, if we have time. But I do want to get to the point where we do the activation of Tribal Shield, which is a part of the DNA template. And I need to get you through a couple things to get you to that point. So if we can save the questions for a bit, I would really appreciate it. I'm not trying to ignore anybody. And if there's real important questions, a really good way to deal with questions, and helps you too, is to write them down on paper. Because sometimes you will find yourself will come up with the answer tomorrow morning before you get it to me. There's something about writing something down. When you write something down or draw a symbol, you are taking information from the higher level of consciousness, running it from the future, running it through you, and anchoring it through action in the past, which means you're bringing it into your lower strand templates so it becomes real and remembered part of your hologram. What you're doing right now is remembering. This is our hologram. So I suggest writing questions down. And by the time you get to give me a copy of it, and I'll try to get back to you. I won't be able to do it till at least Tuesday when it's not so crazy, because there's a lot of people and a lot of work that has to be done. And of course, the security clearance thing where I'm being given information, in blocks as we go along. But you may find your own self answers the question exactly the way you need it answered, because you just picked up the information I've been sharing with you. You might not have got it on the first round here, but you have gotten it in your field now. It's a frequency pattern. So if you really need to ask questions, write them down and see what happens. And by the end of the workshop, if you still have the same questions, then give them to me, and I'll do my best to. If I may not be able to, if everybody said there's like 70 people, or 70 people said, well, on Tuesday, can I talk to you for a few minutes? How many? How would I divide the time on Tuesday? So it gets to the point is the more self-sufficient we can all become, the better we're able to help ourselves, and also the less burden it is on people that are trying to do other things too. Your questions aren't a burden for me, and I want to phrase it in a way where I give you that impression. The questions are great because they represent questions that a whole bunch of people have, not just you, and they make parts of me think and say, okay, if I don't know the answer to that, let's go hunting. What is the answer to that? So I love questions. It's just I've been under so much demand lately with my time, with the work. It's been a little wacky, and I don't have time to be as personable as I would like to with people, which makes me sad, because I love people very much, and I would love for these workshops to have lots of time to go stretching on the beach and hanging out and doing fun stuff. But everybody's on a short time limit. You've paid money to come here. You have jobs and things to go back to, and it's my job to give you as much as I can so you feel that you got what you came for. So I don't have a lot of time for the personal, and I apologize for that. And I will try to save question time, particularly toward the end of the workshop, because there's a lot more to learn than we just learned today. Okay? Now, we're going to move, we're going to stay on this for 1 minute. I want to see over here in the corner on this. This is the list of Earth's 24 primary signet locations. The word signet is the ancient word for stargate. All right. The signets are the stargates. There's 12 stargates on this side of it, and their corresponding Templar Q sites, which are the activation sites. This is, if you're going to do major roundtable work to activate things, you can activate things on a lot of levels, but if you want to do major activations that you link literally your energy fields to the crystal pylon temples of inner Earth, you need to do your roundtables first at the Q site corresponding to the gate, and then drag the energy through to the gate. And there are energy conduits in the planetary grids that link them. We have the first stargate at the South Pole, and Cyprus Island in the Mediterranean Sea is the Q site for that, the activation site. And look at some of these, the places where some of these are. It's very, very interesting when we progress up the list to some of the most powerful. The most powerful one is this one and the series that run this way, 12, 9, 6, 3, and 1. These are called the Halls of Amareya, and they're a passageway that when it's open, frequency directly from the 12th stargate in this time matrix can be blown down in to clear things if a planet's in trouble or it could go in a pole shift. This can stop it from happening. We assisted them in opening the Halls of Amareya in May of this year when we went to Kauai, Hawaii. So these are the list of the places. We have South Pole, SG1, Sarasota, Florida, SG2, that's where we are. Easter Island is the corresponding Q site, the activation site. Bermuda Islands are Stargate 3. South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa is the activation site for there. Giza, Egypt is Stargate 4. That's this one. Now see here on these Stargates, there's the names of the intergalactic systems they connect to. So these sites connect to these places. It's kind of like knowing your bus transfer system if you're going to use public transportation. These lines that run between the diagram here actually represent conduits, crystal caverns, the beginnings of which are being found. The cover on the Templar book that Leela brought to us, these caverns were found in Chihuahua, Mexico. They're connected with the Q site that goes with Gate 4. And so Gate 4 is Giza, Egypt. Central Mexico is the main Q site, and there's a whole networks of these temples in these areas. These are temples, these underground crystal formations like the ones they're finding now. They're also transmitting stations that will either help us move through the star activation cycle well, or they will help in the fallen angelic capture of the halls of Amente. So over here we have Stargate 5, Peru, Machu Picchu. We're going there in December because there's work that needs to be done there. The Q site for this one, interestingly, is Rome, Italy, Vatican City. The Pope is sitting on it, and that's not an accident. Stargate 6 is in Russia in the Caucasus Mountains, and it has a corresponding link to Kauai, Hawaii. This is where we're able to work with the energies of the Halls of Amareya. There's an extra thing that links in the Stargate 6 at Kauai, Hawaii that opens the Halls of Amareya. The Q site for Gate 6 is in India, in the Thar Desert, which is up by the Pakistan border. Now, Stargate 7, Peru, Lake Titicaca. That's the second place we're stopping on our trip to Peru. Paxoi, Greece, it's an island, in a Greek island, is the Q site for that. We're going there in 2002 to do work. Central China, Xi'an, Central China, is Stargate 8. Very heavily communistly dominated at this point. It's a very rigid system over there at this point. Tibet is its Q site. Interesting relationship they have there politically between Tibet and China. If we start to look at the history, our known history of who was doing what to who, as far as what group was trying to dominate what other group, and compare that to the Stargate maps, we start to understand what's been taking place here, where certain groups of humans would be infiltrated. They would be working as really kind of like puppets of the fallen angelics, and they would be progressively sent in to take over the human 12 tribes who were the gate guardians. So there has been a progressive political dominion campaign ever since the Atlantean period, which started in 50,000 BC and came up to 9,558 BC, when they made Atlantis disappear, so we wouldn't know about the Atlantean conspiracy. So we'd be blindsided when the star activation cycle happened. Now, you get up here, Stargate 10, Iran. It's Q site, Iraq. Oh, those guys love each other. This is where the real fun begins. Stargate 11, which is the gate that corresponds to Universal Stargate 11, which is the ones, bless you, whoever it was, the ones that the Anunnaki, Anu Elohim, the 11 fallen angelics, want to take over. That's their point, where they want to cap the time matrix, reverse it from there, and take over from there. So Gate 11 is their big quest. So the Anunnaki agendas have been running Gate 11 quests and trying to get the Merkaba spins of the planet where they would support the Gate 11 alignment in order to use Gate 11 to destroy Stargate 12 on this planet and in the Universal Templar. Now, Stargate 11 was in, both of these Stargates were Atlantean Stargates. They were in an area known as Lohas, Atlantis. Lohas was northeastern Atlantis. There was the central Atlantis was called Brua. It's called Nohasa, and southwestern Atlantis was called Brua. There were gates associated with each areas. Right now, Bermuda Islands are left. That's where Stargate 3 is. The Gruel Point, Stargate 2 in Sarasota, Florida. This was Brua, Atlantis here. And Stargate 11 is in England, the Vale of Pusey. It's around the Stonehenge, Aberbury area. It's all connected in with that. It's not in the exact same place as Stonehenge and Aberbury. It's not too far. It's interesting. We did grid work here. What was it, last month at this point? It was a month ago, right? And first we went, and there had been this crop of crop circles that had popped up. Not right when we were there, but not too far. I don't think it was too far from the time, because they were very fresh looking. They were fresh looking. And the new one that had popped up where people were coming in and photographing because it was, a new one on the list. Right when we were coming to do the grid work, because we were doing major grid work between these two gates, because there was a certain control matrix put into our grids that was being held together through all of this. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So we have Stargate 11 in England, Vale of Pusey, and in the Irish Sea, you had the Q site. So we went to Ireland and England. And then Stargate 12 is in France, Montsegur, France. That's where the Albigensian Crusades were launched against the Cathars. Because the Cathars, it was 1244 AD, BC, AD. AD. I get my ACs, BCs mixed up. Okay. There are certain forces that would run through the Church of Rome, the Catholic Church, to wipe out the Cathars, the Cathari, because they knew that they had the books and the Templar, because they knew they had one of the CDD plates, and because they knew they were trying and they had the knowledge to do the Christos realignment. The people that are Indigo children now were the groups that were the Cathari. They were the groups that were the Jeshua, we call them Jeshua 12, the 12th level avatar, Essenes. They were the groups that were the Atlantean Grail King lines. They were the groups that were incarnated in the Arthur period, the King Arthur period. If you have one of these, you have them all. These are the times that we came back and that we're still there in those time vectors, doing the same thing until we finish it so we can transmute to the next level up and get out of here. Kauai, Hawaii is where the activation site for Gate 12 is, and it's also the place where the halls of Amareya can be accessed, and Gate 6 opens directly into it as well. Now here we have Gate 1, parallel Earth. It also opens into Theta Orion. Now Theta is a group of 4 stars. I think our scientists have identified as 4 stars that I think they call trapezium is actually the collective, but they call it, like when it's perceived as 1, interestingly, when you look at it from, with the telescopes from here, it looks like 1, but when they get closer with the Hubble and things like that, they can see that it's 4. It's interesting how distance can make things look different than they actually are. But here we have parallel Earth, Theta Orion, inner Earth, a planet called Epsilon that's near Andromeda, so it's considered like an Andromeda access gate. Here we have Earth, Venus, and Alpha Centauri. This gets interesting if you look up here. Gate 7, Arcturus and Omega Centauri. Now, the 2 Centauri planets are controlled by a group of Anunnaki and Draconians and what are called the Centaur races, which are fallen angelic races that are half kind of like cow-deer things and half hominid on top. They run an Antichristos agenda, and Alpha and Omega order, Melchizedek's. This is what that means. They're the ones that tell you it's the only Melchizedek order in the universe. Don't you wish? They wish they were the only ones in the universe, and they're trying like heck to make sure they are. They've been trying to exterminate High Council, which are the Elohai, and the founders ever since this silly thing began, thousands and actually millions of years ago on this planet. So we start to see where some of the names and things are. We have here the solar gate, the Sol gate, which Sol, S-O-L, is the name that was originally given to our sun. And this connects to a planet called Nibiru. Nibiru is a real interesting place. Major home, Anunnaki Central, as far as the ape hominid type Anunnaki, such as the Thoth Collective and actually the Isis Collective and a lot of the interesting ancient energies that are now talking to people these days. They're from the Nibiruan matrix. The Alcyon, Stargate 5, is in Alcyon, the Pleiades. Sirius B, Stargate 6. This is where the Maharaji are from. That's the first level of pure gate access. Part of these are compromised. There's been a war for these gates going on for literally billions of years, and we've been a part of it since the human creation 560 million years ago. As far as vibration goes from our point in time, it would be 560 million years ago that we were created. Our race was created as the security team.
I don't quite understand the relationship between Stargate here and Stargate and how it relates to the planets and other bodies.
Okay. Simply, if you can recall what I had said, this template is the core template of every manifestation template. So it means any form, be it a bug, a plant, a tree's leaf. There are millions of interwoven microcosmic building up to macrocosmic versions of this template, which is a template that shows primary energy concentration points that control how the whole rest of the template will develop. We all have a common template. That is our first entry into the time matrix template. All right. So it's showing in the cosmic matrix, which would be a huge sphere, that there are these locations. When we look up in the sky from density 1, the names of the stars here are actually where the gate point locations are. Now, the planet on a smaller level is a sphere as well. So there would be 12 points on the planet that corresponded to the planetary Kathara grid. They would be points of consolidated frequency, which these are, that allow opening and closing, that allow crossover between flashline sequences where consciousness can pass through from one set of flashline sequences, which is a timeline, to another. And a timeline is a space line because time, which is a vibration, a repeating cycle of vibrational movement, creates space, which is the projection of the hologram and the space between objects, a negative and positive projection. Okay, so they correspond to these, where if you went to one of these over here on the Stargate list, if you went to, let's say, Peru, Lake Titicaca, this would connect you directly to Gate 7. You could go from Titicaca directly through to Arcturus or Omega Centauri with no problem. It would simply open up there. It'd be like at this angular rotation and particle spin, You are here at Lake Titicaca. Shift your angular rotation and particle spin 45 degrees. Guess where you are? You're up here. You're in the Arcturus system. Or if you shift it in the reverse, you will be in Omega Centauri. All right. So these are literally shift positions. They're the same place. This place on Earth is the same place as this, as a different particle at a different angular rotation of particle spin.
That's why they're all dual. They're all dual. One's going to the left, one would be on to the right.
These guys? They each have different spins, and our chakra systems actually spin with them. And I don't have time to do that one right now, and it's not one of the more important things to show you like which ones. I could do it real fast. These are base electrical. I don't like to leave details out. These are can you tell? These are base electrical on this side, which means they are spinning clockwise. These are electrical. These are base magnetic. These spin counterclockwise. These are base electrical. They spin clockwise. These, the halls of Amareya, can transmit both. They can transmit all of these frequencies. They were the first set of them that came down. So they can transmit both. They're electromagnetic. All right, so that explains, and they will spin both directions because of that. Okay, now there's all sorts of caverns and things. What it will look like if we get to the point where we can get our hologram under control enough to actually get ourselves to walk through gates, what it will look like is we have to go down before we can go up. We have to go down into the earth, into what are these beautiful crystalline caverns. And there are points of frequency that if you don't have certain things activated in the DNA or certain security clearance, because some of them are under security lock, they're not going to let just anybody down there because they're trying to invade inner Earth territories to get the temples. But if you worked with, you'll make connection telepathically first with someone who will help to get you there and meet you on the other side. This is what the plan is for the 3-day particle conversion period. But you would literally go through a network. You'd have to go cave walking. So like throw out the high heels, like that kind of thing, and it will probably get very hot as you go down. Even to the point where you think, humans can't go in there, but humans in Merkaba can. That's time to remember Merkaba mechanics. And through the Merkaba, when you activate your Merkaba field, you use the right sound tones, you will first of all see where the gate access point is because you'll get an image of it in your inner vision. Then you'll start to see that projected out. You'll see like a door where you know there's rock. But you're in a thought form, remember. Your hologram is not as solid as it appears to be. And if you get your frequency to the right level, it will shift the angular rotation of particle spin, where that door will become an open door, and you will be able to walk through. Where another person standing next to you that didn't do that, you would simply disappear. She walked into the wall. Honest, really, she did. What are you on? So here's what I'm trying to explain. If somebody, this is in the Bible, they talked about that people would start disappearing as, be called up by God. Well, they were talking about the people who were able to go into Merkaba, that were able to make the shift so they didn't end up on Phantom Earth. Because the thing they were predicting in biblical revelations was what it would look like on Phantom Earth during and after the particle conversion period. It doesn't have to look that bad. That's if the fallen angelics got to wage their war here. And so far, so good. There's been enough holding them off as far as getting in their way of making things go smoothly with their negative agendas that we haven't lived the Armageddon scenario yet. But anyway.
Phantom Earth happened no matter what. Phantom Earth happened no matter what.
At this point, see that when you have thought projection, it's very interesting. When you have an event horizon or several coming up, there's always, we're in a free will system, which means there's always a chance that something can shift things. But there is a last minute period. If a thing hits critical mass, there is a point of no return, where that manifestation, no matter what you try to do to stop it, has to run its cycle. But then you can try to pick up the pieces after the fact. And that's what's being done with that matrix. It's already hit a critical mass density where it can't be stopped on that particular version of Earth. Now, it's been altered, where it's not been, the holy, horrible war that they predicted, in the Bible, and they're iffy, or certain other things. We'll talk about things like wormwood tomorrow and what all that stuff in Revelations meant, because it has directly to do with some things that are happening. And we can influence the severity of what will happen in that matrix. But we can't prevent a bunch of it because some of the things have built a critical mass. That thought pattern is pregnant, and it hit that point where it's going to deliver that baby no matter who tries to stop it. Thought forms work like that. We'll talk more about that tomorrow too, as far as the interesting way. Where do they come from? Okay, we move into a frequency pattern, and we actually run into a frequency pattern that is an old thought form. It creates a reaction in us. We imbue more of it in there. It comes into us and gets projected out as our consciousness moves up above it. There's a process that involves the DNA that I'll get into tomorrow more, because it's not, for what we're talking about right now, it's not that important. But there's some real interesting things that we're going to learn to do as far as thought and as far as learning how to influence things on a big way. What we do can help change what the severity of the phantom Earth probability are going to look like, and it can help to make sure that our probability, our time factor, makes it into merger with the bridge zone in a peaceful way that doesn't create pole shift. So the things we're learning about how to just master ourselves will also help us to master how we can assist this planet in getting its own heroic future embodied into its body. And if the planet's on its heroic future, we will be too. So it's kind of, we'll help each other. All right, let's see. I think I'm done there. I talked about them already. I don't even know to put that on, because I already explained what they were. Yeah, I'll go past that. How are we doing on time?
It's product. That's the NDC next.
Okay, let me see this. I wasn't going to show that for that part. I was going to do part of tomorrow's. Yeah, I don't even need to. I explained Q sites. I don't have to do that. That's what that was for. Okay.
Looking at the sales.
I'll do that a little
That's
bit.
good links.
Yeah. I think I wanted to put this first. Okay. All right, here we go.
Sean, before you take the other one down, there's a symbol here number 11 on the advisory grid.
Okay, which one was on that one?
Is that the balance star?
Which one?
What you just had up
This one?
there. Number 11.
This symbol?
No, on the, there. Able to fail, you see to the left of the number 11 there?
Oh, here. Actually, that was to mark where, this is where our Merkaba reversal on the planetary level is being held in reverse by a crystal implanted network that's held at Stonehenge. And it runs through into control the gate here, because it's positioned on a line that runs between the Q site 11, which is in Ireland. There's a ley line system that runs down to gate 11, and that's the activation current. So this Stonehenge is right on the line between it, so it reverses the fire letters of the planetary grid programming, and it runs through here. So that's why that little star was there. She asked about that star. Yes, it was. That was the first part of the healing of this planet that we accomplished when we went to England and Ireland. We ran the Maharata codes, the D12 codes, to reset the natural Christos template. And what that did was amazing. I'll show you in a minute really quick. What we released, the beginning of what we released, is called the Big Black Spider, or the Nibiruan 8-pointed star. We just turned it into a white star that's going to have 12 points, and the Big Black Spider has been turned into a white spider that's going to grow some additional legs. Okay? Yeah. All right, now this I just want to show you real quick to show you when we have stellar activation cycles. This is basically what happens. This is harmonic universe 1, right? Dimension 1, 2, 3. Harmonic universe 2, harmonic universe 3, 4, and 5. This is just to show the difference in Merkabas, okay? Now, Merkabas are the sets of counter-rotating, spiraling counter-rotating electromagnetic fields. There are dimensional Merkabas, a set of them for each dimension, but there are also bigger ones that are called harmonic Merkabas, that are three-dimensional Merkaba fields that control the smaller dimensional ones and all the smaller things that the dimensional ones control. This is showing you the harmonic Merkaba fields, and these are the ones we work with activating, by the way. We don't bother with just the little dimensional ones. We're working with the whole set of frequencies. But on the planetary level, a stellar activation cycle does not occur during the periods of time when the angular rotation of particle spin between the Merkabas of the planet, between Earth, Terra, Gaia, and Aramatena, are not lining up on a vertical axis. They're at different rates, because these all spin. These are like little wheels that are fixed here in the middle point, and they spin at different rates to each other. So at sometimes these side points will cross over. At some points, the main center point will come into alignment with the center point and the one below, and other times they won't. These are when time cycles blend, which is what a stellar activation cycle is, and that's what makes stargates open. If you look at Merkaba fields, it's actually spiraling flash line sequences, because that's precisely what they are. You have flash line sequences from density 1 going at a certain rate, and flash line sequences from density 2 going at a certain rate. And in stellar activation cycles, they come into merger with each other, where they hit a zone in here, and they form a form constant, which is that space of holographic projection in the center. That's the space that will open up a piece of land that you didn't know was there before a stellar activation happened. It creates an opening to the crystal caverns that lead between our planet and its density 2 counterpart Terra. So this is just to show you the vertical alignment of the planetary Merkaba fields that occurs during stellar activation, as opposed to the times when stellar activation is not present, when that vertical axis is off at different angles of spin. This is what we're moving toward. These are levels of activation that we were supposed to go through. We'll talk more about these tomorrow, and the fact that all of that has been expedited from the dates that were originally given. Okay. Yeah, that's what I said. Help. Yeah. Of energy, the ones coming down on the particle side are electrical, and they have one pointing up, drawing energy up this way from that's the magnetic spiral. So any body actually has a set of these Merkabas on the outside, around the body, as well as on the inside within the body. They create, when they spin, they create spheres of energy, actually vesica Pisces, within them. That's where we get our form constant, that our holographic projection can take place within. When we speed up Merkaba fields to where there's a particular ratio that's matched between those two, the top and the bottom spiral, and we get it going on the proper ratio, which is the natural particum phasing ratio, then we have the ability to change and to begin to interact with the angular rotation of particle spin. Now, on a planetary level, Merkaba serve a very important purpose. They hold the galactic orbital patterns in motion through sets of black and white holes that are at the center of the sun, around which the planets are rotating. Science here does not understand gravitational pull yet fully. They do not realize there's another force on the other side that's helping to fully generate that, and that there's an intimate connection between those forces. So Merkabas, if you have the solar Merkaba, which is this one up here, this would represent the solar Merkaba, the antiparticle spiral coming down. That's what we're going to use when we do the beach thing on Monday. We're going to be using that to energize ours, to draw in extra frequency that we can work with, but we're going to do it on the right spin ratio. Okay, this is the right spin ratio, 33 1/3. That goes right back to when the particum breaks into the part K and the part chi. The electrical antiparticle, which is the part K, should have 33 1/3 of the units of thrust compared to the 11 2/3 magnetic. And you put them back together and you have 45 units of thrust, which means there are a bunch of others. You have 45 and you put it with the antiparticle, you have 90. That means that's 90, a 90-degree rotation. That implies, to make 360 rotation, which is really Source's experience of itself in manifestation, that there are several of these time matrices. But it all comes down to Merkaba. The planets and the galaxies are held together by the forces generated through the Merkabas that exchange energy and information from not only going sideways from Earth to inner Earth to Paro, but also going vertically. So Merkaba fields draw energy. It's a very complex system of energy bypass, where it goes from one on this side to another on this side and over to here and back and forth and it crosses through that third inner Earth cycle all the way through. That's one of the diagrams. It's probably going to take me about a week just to do that one because we're real complicated. But this is enough to show you. We start to see, wow, this does affect the planet, doesn't it? These are like important. I remember in one of the workshops there was a really sweet person. She said, "Can you explain to me this something? What's Merkaba? What's so important about Merkaba?" And it was the most wonderful question, because I kind of went, we're almost at lunch break, so I'll get back to you on that. And I remember spending all my lunch going, how do I answer that question? It's like, it holds the whole universe together, And it was really interesting. It brought it home to me. Her question was wonderful. It brought it home to me. What is so big about Merkaba? Well, it's the primal force that holds all the things together, the glue that holds the hologram together and holds you into the hologram. And it's also what can get you to have the ability to move in and out eventually of your hologram the way you would like to. Merkaba is the movement of God's consciousness when it chooses action. It is the part of God that expresses as action, where the other expresses as what is called the still point, or non-action. So anyway, this is how Merkaba, this is ours, and this would be our solar Merkaba, is electrical. That means our planetary Merkabas, the ones that surround the planet, these are only the harmonic ones. They're three-dimensional, so there's one half of it here and the other half of it in the next density up, right? So this one